Jesuit Hour. Get to know the Jesuits. Discover their spirituality, their history, their ministries. The Jesuit Hour. Anything Jesuit, everything Jesuit. The Jesuit Hour.
Jesuit Music Ministry, your daily dose of inspiration. Follow JustCom PH on Spotify and JustCom Music on YouTube. We are also on iTunes and Deezer.
Let's take it back to the songs of your time. This is The Throwback on Radyo Katipunan 87.9 FM.
Palalimin ang kamalayan sa mga isyong napapanahon. Makisangkot at makiisa kasama ang simbahang lingkod ng bayan. Ang Socio-Political Apostolate ng Kapisanan ni Jesus. Ito ang Kwentuhang Bayan mula alas 11 ng umaga tuwing Biyernes dito lang sa Radyo Katipunan 87.9 FM. Dahil naniniwala kami na posible ang isang mas mabuting lipunan at maaari itong simulan sa isang kwentuhan.
Radyo, 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 Katipunan, radyo, Katipunan, radyo, Katipunan, radyo, 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 Katipunan, radyo, 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 Katipunan. Voice of the Blue Eagle, kami di mapipigil sa pagbabalitang tumpak at tama. Buhay Atenista, sa loob sa labas ng eskwela, ating ibibida lahat ng kwela. Radyo, 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 Katipunan, radyo, 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 Katipunan, radyo, radyo, Katipunan, radyo, Katipunan. Kawal ni Ignacio, Katipunero sugod, todo sa kayod, tulong at tulog. Lipat na Blue Eagle, galing giting nagigil. Blue and white, one big fight. Radyo, 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 Katipunan, radyo, 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 Katipunan, radyo, radyo, Katipunan, radyo, radyo, Katipunan, radyo, 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 Katipunan, radyo, Katipunan.
Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat and welcome to Cura Conversations on Care, Health, and Healing. I'm Dr. Tippy, Sumpaico-Tanchanco.
And I'm Dr. Gelo, Apostol, and isang makakalikasang gabi indeed, Dr. Tippy. We're so excited to be with you and our listeners tonight.
Kilig ako, Doc Jen.
Yeah, to start something really special, Doc.
So, today is all about beginnings. We're launching this journey together, and before we dive into health topics in the coming weeks, we thought, let's start with ourselves. So, why are we here, Doc Gelo? What does Cura mean to us? And what do we hope this show becomes for you and for all of us?
So to our dear listeners, tune in, settle down, and let's have our very first conversation about care, health, and healing.
Okay, Doc Gelo. Ready na ako sa tubig ko dito. Ito na ang simula. So, Doc Gelo, let's start with the obvious question. Why Cura? So for those who might not know, what does this word mean for us?
So Dr. P, Cura is actually a very important concept in Ignatian spirituality and Jesuit education. It means providing individualized care, holistic care, not just physical, but also spiritual and even emotional. It's about recognizing the unique gifts and circumstances of each individual person. And those concepts are really very central to our approach to this show, Dr. P.
Ang ganda naman nun, Doc Gelo. parang buong-buo yung pagdating, hindi natin kino-compartmentalize. Pero that's exactly why as we were brainstorming for the show, sabi natin, Cura really felt perfect.
Yeah,
Diba?
because when you're starting a health show, di ba? Parang it's not
Yeah.
just about physical health.
Correct.
We
Yes.
definitely know that health is not just physical.
Kailangan buo, di ba?
Kailangan buo.
Tapos, ang health, hindi to nagsisimula sa doctor's office. Tama, di ba, Doc Gelo?
Agree. And when in fact we recognize and we'd like to advocate in this show that health in fact begins with our very selves.
Correct.
Right? With our own families, how we take care of ourselves, our children, and even the people around us.
Yes.
So Doc Tippy, our show is about care, health, and healing. Let's also try to break down these
Isa-isahin
concepts.
natin.
Yeah.
Himayin muna natin, Doc
Isa-isahin
Gelo.
natin. So when we say
Okay.
care, Doc Tippy, what do we mean when we say care?
Sige, so ako muna, no? So siguro, when the concept of care comes to mind, ang iniisip ko, care has to start at home. So it starts when you wake up and you begin asking, how do I feel today? Tapos iniisip mo din, what does my body need? And then you begin thinking, how about my kids? How are my kids doing? So, Doc Gelo, when you think of it, it actually is not waiting for symptoms or yung mga sakit-sakit or pains to come out para mag-show up ka lang sa
Yeah.
doctor's office, di ba? So, ang importante dito is we need to be intentional about the small daily choices that we make.
And I love that, Dr. P. Care is in the everyday choices and actions that we make for ourselves. And it starts with us.
Correct.
And then-
Intentional, diba, Doc?
Intentional and
Correct.
everyday.
Yes,
right?
everyday.
And not necessarily waiting to find yourself in the doctor's office. In fact,
Right.
that might even be too late, di ba?
Oo, Doc Gelo. Ayaw
And-
mo nga antayin, di ba, na parang, okay, ito na, sumasabog na.
Yun
in
nga,
front
di ba?
of me.
It's a little too late if
Masyadong
nandito ka na sa
late na
doctor's
yun.
office.
Correct, Doc Gelo.
And the next concept, Dr. P, is
Ito
health.
naman, health.
And
Anong tingin
when
mo dyan?
we say about health, di ba, parang I think the World Health Organization puts it really well, di ba? Health is not just the absence of disease, di ba? It's having complete physical, mental, and even social well-being. Ang ganda ng Dr. P,
Ganda
di
ng
ba? Parang
concept.
a lot of people are only familiar with physical health. Na wala kang
Right.
sakit, hindi mataas yung blood pressure mo, maganda yung labs mo. But there's also an emotional aspect to it. And these things you don't find in a laboratory test, di ba?
At saka pati yung social well-being.
Yun nga,
diba?
I think
Na
that's-
community tayo, hindi ka mag-isa, di ba?
That's true. And now more than ever, that's very important, di ba?
Yes.
Parang a lot of people are finding themselves alone and isolated from everyone. And social health, no? Not just mental and physical health is important now more than ever.
Right? Yung pagiging connected natin sa community. 'Di ba? So, kasama yan sa titignan natin dito sa show na to, Doc Gelo, no?
And then, Dr. P, the third concept. So we
Yes.
have care, we have health, and then there's healing. So what do we mean, Dr. P, when we say healing?
Ito, Doc Gelo, very close to my heart to, no? Kasi when we talk about healing, iba siya sa curing. 'Di ba? Pero ang konsepto natin kadalasan, okay, kailangan ko tong magamot, 'di ba? So when we talk about healing, it refers to something that restores the balance, especially when our life feels chaotic. And tama ka, hindi lang physical, mental, pati yung environment natin, 'di ba? So sometimes it's about finding meaning in difficult circumstances, in difficult experiences. Marami mga hashtag dyan. At saka, it's that desire to become whole again.
Oh
Yung
my
pagiging buo, even when things can't go back to how they were previously.
Parang ang ganda na ng Dr. P. It's about becoming whole again. Para may hugot yun di ba? Hashtag hugot, di ba?
May hugot.
But that's very important. And a lot of people want that. Di ba?
Yes.
Parang sometimes in our brokenness, we're always wanting that sense of being whole again. And
Yes.
hopefully, this show, through our conversations on care, health, and healing, will be an avenue for our listeners.
Yan yung susubukan nating ialay,
Yes,
di ba, Doc
diba?
Gelo?
To
Sabay-sabay natin tong gagawin, di ba?
It will be, a shared journey, a new
Yes.
beginning for all of us on becoming whole again. And, when we talk about care, health, and healing, Dr. P, we're not just talking about individual care
Agree, Doc
or
Gelo.
health or healing as an individual. We're talking about community.
Yes.
Diba? Healing as a community, healing with our families, healing with our friends, healing with our loved ones, and the people that we interact directly or indirectly every day. And, because we understand...
Palaki yung mga circles na to,
Diba?
Doc Gelo,
Yeah.
diba?
So health happens in community, and health also happens in relation to our planet and to our environment, Dr. P.
Yes. So, Doc Gelo, di ba, new beginning nga itong gagawin natin ngayong gabi, no? So, birthday to ni Mama Mary, so offering din natin to sa kanya. So, Doc Gelo, instead of having guests para sa show natin
And we will be
tonight,
having exciting guests in our future episodes.
Yun po yung promise namin. In our future episodes, hindi lang po kami ni Doc Gelo yung nandito, di ba? Pero, simulan natin siguro by sharing our story, di ba? So, ito yung tanong ko sa'yo. What brought you to this journey of care, this journey of health and healing?
So, Dr. P, we're both medical doctors.
Yes.
But just as a personal trivia, I've never wanted, initially, my plan was not to be a medical
Talaga?
doctor. When I was in high school and when I was in college, my plan was really actually to become a priest.
Paging po, mga vocation promotion, mga Jesuita, meron po hindi.
But when I was making my decision on whether I will go to med school or not, it was having this realization that spiritual healing cannot really be separated with physical healing. Diba? And I think that only strengthened my desire to be a medical doctor. Not just to be an instrument for physical healing, but
Meron ba
also
yung isang time
holistic, diba? And
Meron ba
spiritual
isang
healing.
significant time point sa'yo? Or parang general siya na unti-unti?
Like in my family, parang, our family, we have a very strong history of cancer. Diba? And, I've seen many family members, including my grandparents, my grandmother, battle her, journey through cancer. And it's when you have this very severe condition that you realize that it's not just having that mass in your body, but really how it dampens your spirit. And then also seeing how her spirituality, her prayer, and also the shared spirituality that she had with our family when everyone prays for her, that really helped her a lot. Yun yung sinasabi ko, Dr. P, na physical healing cannot really be separated from spiritual healing. But, my journey didn't stop there, Dr. P. Now I find myself working on environmental health. Diba?
Paano naman pumasok dyan, Doc Gelo?
So actually, environmental health is, something that also not a lot of people understand. But environmental health is about understanding how the health of our environment, the health of our planet, is very much linked with our health as individuals.
Kailangan mo explain sa amin yan, Doc Gelo. Ano ba yung konsepto ng environmental health?
So think of it this way, Dr. P. If our environment is polluted, if yung hangin na nilalangkap natin ay madumi, yung tubig na iniinom natin ay puno ng mga kemikal at mikrobyo, babalik din sa atin yan eh. So when we talk about these big environmental issues like climate change, pollution, even biodiversity loss, these things are not so far from us. And in fact, parang whatever happens to our environment eventually will impact us directly, indirectly, in more ways than one. And I guess it's also very personal to me, Dr. P.
Yes.
Because, growing up, I've always had asthma.
Oh, may hika ka pala, Doc Gelo.
And right now, I know a lot of...
Madalas ba yung atake mo?
Yeah. So I remember even as early as 6 years old, I'd have very bad asthma attacks.
Okay.
And, ever since then, I've made sure to, take my medications, my inhaler, whatever the doctor...
So may bit-bit ka
Lagi ako may
Pati sa
bit-bit
school,
dyan.
may bit-bit ka rin.
Hanggang high school, hanggang college,
high
Dr. P.
school,
And then I realized one day na parang, okay, for the past 10, 20 years of my life, I've been taking my medications. But for some reason, my asthma just kept getting worse and worse through time. Parang sinusundan ko naman yung advice ng
Lahat ng
doktor.
bilin.
Wala naman akong namimiss. And then I realized it's because, every time I go out and I get exposed to all of the exhausts and all of the fumes from all of the cars, di ba? Diyan sa Quezon
Sa
City,
kalye.
sa kalye, di ba? Doon ko na-realize na no matter how consistent I am when it comes to following the medications and the doctor's advice, for as long as I keep going back to, the same environments that made me sick in the first place,
Right.
I'll just keep on getting sicker and sicker. And that's precisely what I mean, Dr. P, by what I said earlier, that our health as people is very much linked with the health of our planet.
Tama. And Doc Gelo, siguro share mo rin sa ating mga listeners. Kaya ano yung research? Ano yung flagship program mo ngayon sa ACRI?
Yeah, no? So,
may plugging ako Kasi pareho po kami ni Doc Gelo na nag-work sa Center for Research and Innovation ng Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health.
And if our listeners would want to learn more about the wonderful research but also advocacy work that we're doing, not just for environmental health but also for health governance, for mental health, for biotechnology, and even for innovation. May 3D printing tayo, Doc Tippy, di ba? So a lot of exciting things coming your way from the Ateneo Center for Research and Innovation and also through this show. But Doc Tippy, enough about me, no? Sabi mo nga kanina, for this new episode, for this first episode of Cura, we will be each other's
Mag-share
guests,
muna tayo.
di ba?
Tayong guests.
So,
okay. Ako naman?
Ikaw naman, di ba? Parang in the same way, Dr. P, what was your journey of health and healing like?
Sige. Ako, di ba ikaw sabi mo parang high school, gusto mo magpari nung una. Ako, gusto ko maging madre, pero grade 1 pa lang yata ako noon. Tapos na napalitan na. So, bata pa lang ako, grade 2 pa lang yata ako. Parang gusto ko na mag-doktor. Meron akong auntie na parang idol ko yan. Gusto ko maging pediatrician, kagaya niya.
So, Dr. P, meron ka bang picture nung bata ka na parang wearing a doctor's coat? Like,
Hindi,
very
wala
small, Tippy. Wala namang ganon.
Wala namang ganyan. Pero, parang, so, grade school pa lang, sabi ko, pag nag-drawing ako sa school, gusto ko maging doktor, ganyan. And tuloy-tuloy siya. Ngayon, katapos ko mag-residency, so pediatrics yung residency ko, parang, oh my gosh, ano nang gagawin ko? Ito na yung dream ko. Ano pa yung after this, no? Pero, like, dati sa PGH ako, so makikita mo talaga yung mga pinagdadaanan ng mga bata, ng pamilya nila. And, ang hirap kung wala ka ring resources. So, maganda yun na pag-uusapan din natin yung konteksto na kailangan nating suportahan kasi kailangan natin ng health. So, pati siguro universal health care, mapapag-usapan din natin sa show natin, di ba? So, anyway, babalik ako sa kwento ko. That was the time when I decided I wanted to be a developmental pediatrician.
So, Dr. P, explain for us. So, I'm sure a lot of people know what a pediatrician is like.
Yes.
Diba? I think most of us have gone through a pediatrician. Diba?
Oo naman,
But what is
siguro.
a developmental pediatrician, Dr. P?
Ito parang ano siya. So, una-una pediatrician kami and yung space namin will be serving kids and their families na merong special needs or neurodivergent. Yun yung term na ginagamit natin ngayon, ano. So, tuloy-tuloy yung journey ko ng fellowship. Pero, sabi ko nga nung matanda na ako, Doc Gelo.
Parang hindi naman, Dr. P, no? But in fact, no, parang one of our upcoming episodes, we will get to talk about Dr. P's secret to looking young, di
Ganun
ba?
ba yun?
Forever young and youthful.
O sige, kailangan daw you work with kids para mukha kang bata or isip bata ka pa rin.
That
Masaya
could be
yun,
part
diba?
of it, definitely, Doc.
Oo. So, yung time na yon, ito naman yung parang ginawa ko na lahat. Diba? May therapy na yung kids, nag-sped sila, parents nila, parang lahat binibigay na sa kanila. Kaya lang parang nagpa-plateau yung development nila.
Parang ginawa mo na lahat, pero kulang pa.
Parang kulang pa.
Yeah.
So, doon ako napadpad sa field naman ng functional medicine. So,
That's another concept, Dr. P, functional medicine. And Dr. P, you kind of mentioned something interesting, no? Parang a lot of people know you already as a pediatrician, as a developmental pediatrician. Dr. Tippy is a doctor that works a lot with kids. But lately, parang when I see your practice, it's not just kids that you're working with, but I see you working with people from,
parang
all different
nag-expand.
ages, di ba? From womb to tomb, di ba?
Lifespan talaga,
Is that related
Doc
to your
Gelo?
current practice of
Yes.
functional medicine, Dr.
Kasi,
P?
di ba, in functional medicine, ang tinitingnan natin is root cause. Bakit ako merong mga ganitong sintomas? Kasi, kagaya ng asthma mo, kung puro gamot lang tayo, tataas lang ng tataas yung dose, yung pangangailangan natin, yung gastos natin para sa mga gamot na to. And alam natin, di ba, parang ilog yan eh. Kailangan simulan mo upstream para hindi mo makikita lahat ng mga downstream na effects nitong isang kondisyon na to. So, yun yung naka-attract talaga sa akin in functional medicine.
Parang ang ganda ng Dr. P, no? Parang looking at both upstream and downstream and also relating it
Correct.
to this whole life cycle approach.
Yes. At
na
saka, Doc Gelo, I think ang important dito is tinitignan mo yung tao bilang buong tao. Hindi mo ginagamot yung sintomas, hindi mo ginagamot yung high blood, hindi mo ginagamot yung diabetes. Tinitignan mo yung dahilan. Kasi a lot of times, mental health pala yung problema or yung family dynamics.
Or yung physical and natural environment.
Natural
diba?
environment sa bahay, yung mga molds, lalo ngayon maulan, di ba? Meron bang mga amag na nandyan, so titignan mo rin yun. Tapos tinitignan din namin, syempre, ang laki ng mental health, ng spirituality, ng emotional wellness. So talagang tinatahi natin talaga lahat ng mga factors na yan.
And across the lifespan. Kasi sobrang importante nun. Parang, I know a lot of people, kompleto ng vaccination, lagi nagpapacheck up ng bata. Pero pagtanda, parang nakakalimutan na. Babalik na lang ulit sa doktor when they are like, pag may sakit na, parang when they are past their 50s and 60s. But we really need to look at it, di ba? Parang from childhood to adolescence, to, early adulthood, and even late adulthood.
Yan yung gagawin natin dito, Doc Gelo, lifespan talaga tong...
Para sa lahat talaga. Para sa buong pamilya po ang Cura.
At saka, Doc Gelo, ako ang gusto ko ring makita natin, yung tinatawag nila na farm to fork. Paano maabot yung pagkain natin mula sa ating mga farmers, paano natin dadalhin itong whole food, itong nutritious food sa mesa, pati yung pagluto, paano ba yung tamang pagluto. So, sana lahat yan madala natin dito. Kasi, di ba, parang systematic dapat and systemic yung pagtingin natin sa kalusugan ng mga Pilipino.
And exactly what Cura is about, having this holistic approach and perspective on health. And that really brings us here, no? Dr. Tippy, a physician focused on whole person wellness, and me, an environmental health doctor. So Dr. Tippy, let's now talk about this show, Cura.
Sige.
Ano nga bang pumasok sa isip natin? Like, why did we even start this show to begin with?
Oo nga ba? Bakit nga ba? Pero challenge to. Actually, nagkaroon po to ng meeting. So, binabati ko po si Sir Leland. Siya po yung parang nag-introduce din ng konsepto. Kasi maganda nga na meron talagang taya ang Ateneo dito sa field ng health. 'Di ba? Ng health, ng wellness. So, yun yung...
And it doesn't get more personal than that.
Oh, talaga.
Because health is like, sarili mo yan eh. Katawan mo yan, di ba? Parang, and, it's not something that you can sacrifice or not, pay attention to.
Malaki yung konsepto ngayon, sinasabi nila, mga anti-aging, gusto nila mahaba ang buhay nila. Pero habang umahaba yung buhay natin, gusto natin health span. Hindi lang lifespan yung pinagtutuunan natin. And Doc Gelo, in my practice kasi, I keep on meeting parents, students, teachers. Ito yung network that I work with. Tapos lagi nilang parang, dami nilang magagandang tanong. 'Di ba? Marami silang health questions na ang mahirap ngayon, saan sila kukuha ng mga reliable, evidence-based na answers?
Na health advice. And maganda yung sinabi mo, Dr. Tippy, na parang where do they look for the right kind of information to answer their questions?
Ikaw ba? Saan ka naghahanap?
Ako definitely, parang, well, that's just me. I read journals. I look for the, the latest
talaga, diba?
evidence. But that does not apply to everyone.
Exactly, diba, Doc Gelo? Siyempre, ano ba yung pina-accessible sa atin? Si Dr. Google, si Dr. Chat,
and
diba?
most recently, Dr. TikTok.
Dr. TikTok. Meron ka bang TikTok account?
Wala akong TikTok. But I know a lot of people na parang they get most of their medical advice from TikTok. And sometimes it's not the right kind of information.
Right. So, yun sana yung gusto nating marating din ngayon, di ba? Tuturuan natin yung ating mga tagapakinig para ma-present natin yung evidence-based. Yung meron talagang basihan when it comes to medical advice or kahit na yung mga tips na ibibigay natin. Yan yung gusto sana nating magawa.
And maganda yung sinabi mo kanina, Doc Tippy, parang now we find ourselves, we have a lot of our listeners who are starting to ask these questions.
Yes.
Diba? Questions that really matter. Na parang, should I do this diet or not? Parang, how much is enough sleep?
Yes.
Or, do I take this new drug that promises, weight loss in 3 months?
Sabi nung kapitbahay ko, ito daw dapat yung gawin. So, susundan ba yun?
Yun nga, di ba?
Meron mga ganyan, di ba? So, or nakita natin itong famous na influencer na, ito pala yung ginagawa niya. Bagay din ba yun sa akin?
And we want these questions.
Yes.
Dahil sa show natin, Dr. P, walang maling tanong.
Wala.
Diba?
Community nga yung gusto nating
all
buuin.
questions are valid and we want these questions to come from your listeners.
So parang safe space to
This
for
is a safe space.
conversation talaga, Doc Gelo.
And I guess, Dr. P, I was part of those conversations as well when we were brainstorming Cura. So that was one. It's recognizing that, our listeners, our community here in Ateneo and beyond the Ateneo have questions that needed answers,
Right.
health questions
Yes.
that needed reliable evidence-based answers. But also, one of the things that we've identified is that even within our community, there are health champions, sources of information, and they're not just doctors, Dr. P.
Right,
We
right.
have even parents, teachers, lay people, not necessarily experts, not necessarily health professionals, who are more than willing to share their stories of health, healing, and caring.
Ang ganda naman yan,
And
Doc
I think
Gelo.
maganda sana parang i-present din natin yun. Kasi sabi nga natin kanina, Doc Tippy, di ba? Parang care, health, and healing is not just the responsibility of doctors. In
Ay,
fact,
talaga.
one of the things that we'd like to advocate in this show is that it's everyone's responsibility.
Yes.
We can all be instruments of care, health, and healing.
And importante talaga yung concept of empowerment, Doc Gelo, 'di ba? So, yun yung parang bigay din yan sa atin ng Diyos. Kailangan maganda yung ating mga why na sinasabi. Bakit ko gusto maging healthy? Kasi yun yung magdadrive sa atin. Kasi hindi naman madali ang behavior change. Lalo na when you want to make kahit na kung anong mga changes nga yan, di ba, Doc Gelo?
That's nice, Dr. P. And, that's why in our future episodes, we are not just inviting like medical experts or health
Right.
professionals. We are inviting parents, teachers,
Yes.
even
At saka siguro,
students
pati
themselves.
network mo din, Doc Gelo.
Yeah, and even those working in government,
Yes.
civil society, and for them to share their whys. Like, why are they pushing for healthier choices at the individual level, for their families, and even at the community or at the societal
Pati sa
level.
Planetary.
And even at the planetary
Diba?
level.
So, anong hope mo naman for our show, Doc Gelo?
So siguro ang hope ko, Dr. P, is that, when people listen to our show, not only do they have their questions answered, but they get inspired.
Ay, maganda yan.
Diba? But I think that's
We continue to inspire each other,
hindi
no?
lang impormasyon Hindi lang kumbaga food for the brain, but also food for the soul and food for the spirit. Kasi importante yun. Going back to, parang deepening and enriching the whys of people as to why they would want to choose healthy for themselves, for their family, and even for their communities.
Importante talaga yan.
How about you, Dr. P? Like, what is your hope for this show? Diba? Parang, what is it that you want our
that will
listeners
drive me to
Diba?
come every Monday night, no?
and to share these stories
And to
of
share,
care,
yes.
health, and healing to our
Yeah.
listeners?
Ako siguro, Doc Gelo, I want to bridge that gap between complex medical information kasi minsan sobrang overwhelming talaga. Lalo na ngayon, ang bilis ng mga changes in healthcare. At saka gusto ko yan ma-bridge to everyday life. Paano natin to itatranslate sa buhay ng kung sino man yung makikita natin bukas, 'di ba? So, paano natin halimbawa mga konsepto ng nutrition science? Paano mo to i-apply pag nag-grocery ka or nagpunta ka sa palengke? Ano yung mga choices na kailangan nating gawin, 'di ba? So, importante 'yan. So, ano yung mga practical things? Siguro 'yun yung maganda rin na ma-share natin sa ating mga listeners.
like very important concepts in what you said, Dr. Pino. Parang
Yeah.
practical.
Practical talaga sana.
Dapat applicable to everyday life
Correct.
talaga.
At saka dapat siguro yung talagang nako-contextualize natin. 'Di ba? Na it has to be relevant yung mga i-share natin dun sa mga tagapakinig natin, 'di ba? So kaya magsisimula tayo sa real life stories.
And also, parang providing advice that we ourselves wouldn't practice and wouldn't advise to ourselves and even to our own families.
Sige,
Diba?
aabangan ko yung mga tips mo, Doc Gelo.
And speaking of tips, Dr. P, I think a very exciting part of Cura, something that our listeners would want to look forward to, would be our health tips. So
Yes.
every episode po, we'd be sharing to you some health tips, precisely what Dr. P mentioned, no? Practical health tips. Tips that are evidence-based actually, hindi yung sabi-sabi lang, no? Or dahil pauso lang, no?
Sige.
But
Gusto mo na ba
tips that
mag-share?
are evidence-based but also very practical.
Sige, Doc Gelo, ito, mag-rapid fire time muna tayo.
Oh my gosh, anong rapid fire to? Baka namang ibang rapid fire
Ay,
question to.
hindi. Madali lang to. Hindi, madali lang talaga. Siguro, ito yung takeaway natin ngayong gabi. Like, what is your one health tip that you truly live by? Or at least parang gusto kong i-effort. Ito yung ginagawa
Oh
mo.
my gosh, parang isa lang,
Isa
Dr.
lang.
P.
Isa
Okay,
lang
sige.
muna.
Siguro just for this, first episode of Cura, I think a very important health tip that not only do I try to strive for myself, but also advise even to my patients and to my family is sleep. sleep is super important. And a lot of people do not realize that sleep plays a very important role in our healing.
Yes.
So when we sleep, di ba, parang our body releases chemicals, hormones, growth hormones that help in tissue repair.
Yes.
And sleep is also when detoxification happens. So it is during
Bagong discovery yan, di ba, Doc
it,
Gelo?
it is during sleep that all of the chemicals and toxins that you've inhaled during the day, from the air that you breathe and the food that you eat, during sleep, your body tries to flush that out. So sleep is very important. And siguro ihabol ko lang, Dr. P, a lot of people think na, okay, sleep, I need to get 8 hours every day.
Okay.
But it's not so much a quantity, no? Sleep is not just a numbers game, eh.
Yes.
The-
Pero sandali importante din naman yung numbers
Oo naman.
minsan, di ba?
Definitely.
Oo,
So,
kasi
syempre, parang like
halimbawa,
1 hour, 2 hours, hindi naman sapat
Hindi
yan.
counted yan. Pero kasi mga babies, mas mahaba yung tulog nila.
Yeah.
Pero habang tumatanda tayo, sabi nila, umiikli yung need natin for sleep. Kaya lang, di ba, Doc Gelo, kailangan natin i-qualify. Anong klaseng sleep ba yung nire-recommenda mo?
Dapat quality sleep. And I really wouldn't want to get into the science of it all. But siguro, a very important, like what I also advise my patient is one good way for you to assess whether you've had enough sleep or adequate sleep is when you feel or when you wake up feeling refreshed.
Correct.
Kasi minsan, di ba, parang, alam mo yung pagkagising mo, parang you feel very groggy. That
Parang
means,
pagod ka pa rin,
parang
no?
pagod ka pa rin,
Oo
di ba?
nga.
Ibig sabihin, you didn't have quality sleep. And sometimes, you've slept like 10 hours, pero groggy ka pa rin pagkagising mo.
Oo
Di ba? And, in one of our future episodes, we are hoping to discuss, parang what actually facilitates good quality and adequate sleep. Di ba?
Kailangan pala may sleep expert din tayo. Alam mo, ang gusto kong hanapin dyan, yung yung mga humihilik.
Yung
Pag
mga
natutulog,
sleep apnea.
Yung
It's
mga
very
sleep
common, di
apnea,
ba?
diba? Parang, sige, mamayang gabi po, pakinggan niyo yung katabi niyo, tignan niyo kung
Yung mga asawa ninyo,
Mga
di ba?
asawa niyo, mga partners, yes.
So, Dr. P, ikaw naman. Okay.
Ako
What
naman.
is one health tip that you would swear by?
Sige, hindi ako perfect sasabihin ko lang, trying really hard. Pero, alam niyo po, I try to be very mindful of the healthy plate. Recommendation to ng Department
Healthy
of Health.
plate. Ano ba tong healthy plate na to?
Yes.
May
Diba?
Jollibee ba tong healthy plate na to? Or
Ay, plugging, hindi.
plugging ba?
Sige.
Ano ang nasa healthy plate mo,
Ang
Dr.
healthy
P?
plate, sige. Ang healthy plate po kasi, so sa DOH, nusundan natin to, di ba? Pero tayong mga Pinoy kasi, sanay tayo kanin ulam. Or halimbawa sa States, tatawagan nito na SAD, yung Standard American Diet. So, ang healthy plate, yung pangontra natin dyan. Kasi, ang konsepto ng healthy plate, may drawing yan ng pinggan, kalahati ng kakainin mo, vegetables and fruits. Mind you, mas madami ng konti
Kalahati talaga, Dr. P.
Kalahati ko yan yung bilog, yung kalahati nun, vegetables and fruits.
Oh,
diba?
God.
Usually baliktad tayo, diba? Puro kanin.
Puro kanin, di ba?
Oo.
Kalahati kanin, tapos kalahati ulam,
Oo,
di ba?
kalahati ulam or konti nga lang yung ulam, diba? So ang gusto natin, kalahati gulay, tapos 1/4 ang grains or yung kanin natin, 1/4, and then 1/4 yung protina or yung chicken or beef, kung ano yung kinakain natin.
So medyo madali naman pala,
1/4.
Doc TP. Like parang 1/2 is fruits and vegetables and then
Yes.
1/4 na protein.
1/4 na grains.
Na grains,
Or
okay.
yung carbs mo, 'di ba? So gusto ko siya kasi very visual siya. So meron ako mga patients, bata pa lang sila. Sila na yung parang okay, alam na nila, pipicturean nila, alam nila to try nilang kumain ng mas maraming gulay. Kasi Doc Gelo, ako parang ayoko na maging stressful din ang meal time sa mga pamilya. But alam natin, ito yung goal natin, kung kalahati man. Ako gusto ko sana yung nagsiset tayo ng micro goals. Kung halimbawa,
Yeah.
picky eater yung anak mo sa ngayon, ano yung pwede nating gawin, 'di ba? So ako, ito real life story. Yung isang anak ko, hindi talaga kumakain ng gulay. Ang stinart namin, ito, 1 leaf.
1 leaf talaga.
Isang daw lang, yan, kainin mo. Doon kami nag-start.
But at least you started somewhere, di ba?
Correct, di ba? At may intention talaga na, okay, ang gusto natin, ito yung goal. Pero hindi kita sa stress. Isa lang muna. Yan ang compromise natin ngayong gabi. Ngayon kumakain na siya ng gulay.
So I guess like it's really this whole idea of, parang it may be difficult in the beginning, but if
Right.
you keep on making the
Yes.
same healthy choices every
Right.
day, it becomes habit and it becomes second skin to you, and until you reach a point na parang okay, you don't even have to think about it.
Correct.
And I'm glad, Dr. P, that you've mentioned nutrition, which by the way will be one of our episodes moving forward. But it's also something that we have taken for granted. But I know a lot of people who survive by food delivery.
Yes.
I know a lot of people, especially very
Madali
busy
kasi, no?
ones,
Oo.
like even many of our medical students actually. Hello po sa ating mga estudyante sa Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health,
Yes.
who live by like like food deliveries rather, like most of it fast food. And a lot of people seem to forget that, food is also medicine.
Oh,
And
yes,
food can be
totoo
poison
yan.
as well.
Yes,
Diba?
'di ba? Parang kailangan natin talaga balance 'di ba? Yung ang sabi nga natin, isa sa gusto natin sa show na to is mabalik natin yung balance in things. So paano natin gagawin yon in our busy life and alam mo, pati sana yung mga techniques ma-share natin. O sige, may isa akong technique. Ang isang technique na pwedeng gawin ng ating mga busy moms, yung tinatawag na batch cooking.
Batch cooking.
Batch cooking. Kasi may time pa naman tayo, Doc Gelo, di ba? So, batch cooking, ang gagawin mo, ready mo syempre yung mga ingredients mo. Pero, mas madali, lalo na ako, mas madali kung halimbawa, pag Sunday, magluluto na ako ng madami for the week. Tapos, lalagay ko siya in maliliit na containers para, kumbaga, yung sakto lang.
And then you spread it out throughout
And then
the
you
week.
spread it out.
So
Syempre,
therefore,
naka-freeze
you
muna
don't
yun,
have an excuse not to cook healthy.
Correct.
Kasi you've already planned out your healthy meals for the
Yes.
week. And I guess, Dr. P, it's not just moms or parents. Diba?
Pati mga dormers natin.
Our
pwede
dormers,
nilang gawin
our young
yun,
professionals,
magbaon sila.
diba? So wala po talaga tayong excuse. Diba?
Walang excuse. So, kumbaga, kasi convenient,
Yeah.
'di ba, na mag-order online and 'di ba? Pero kung alam mo na, hindi, may baon ako, ready ako, hindi ako magugutom. 'Yun naman yung ayaw natin, 'di ba? Nagiging hungry.
Yeah.
Hindi lang hungry talaga, 'di ba? So, 'yun, naka-pack siya doon. Pero Doc Gelo, importante lang din, so because environmental health din tayo, siguro glass containers mo siya ilalagay,
Oo, kasi
diba?
microplastics, which will be one of
Correct.
our future topics as well. A lot of
Yes.
people are talking about microplastics, it's the buzzword lately, and like
Mga
we really
endocrine
have
disruptors
to
natin yan,
talk
diba?
about it and like address some of the questions that our listeners may have about it. Pero idadagdag ko lang, Dr. Pino, before we move on to our next section, is so we have the healthy plate.
Yes.
No? Yung sinasabi nga ng DOH, Pinggang Pinoy.
Pinggang
Meron din
Pinoy.
tayong
Oo.
planetary health diet.
Talaga?
Kasi,
Kwento
diba,
mo nga,
parang,
ano yan, Doc
our
Gelo?
food systems, the food that we eat, they also contribute to
Yes.
greenhouse gas emissions. Especially if you are heavy on red meat. No, so
Oo
the
nga,
planetary
nabalitaan
health
ko nga
diet
yan.
tries to combine yung nutritional aspects of your healthy plate while also being mindful of our greenhouse gas emissions. No, especially yung
Pag-uusapan din ba natin yan, Doc?
pag-uusapan natin yon, especially in our upcoming episode on nutrition.
Sige.
So, yun na muna.
Ang dami ng topics na
Ang dami na,
pag-uusapan.
di ba?
Naka-line up na.
So-
Pero, kailangan natin ng opinion ng ating audience din, di ba? Meron tayong naka-line up, share muna natin. Pero for September pa lang to. So gusto rin namin malaman ano yung mga topics eventually na pag gusto nila mapag-usapan natin.
Yeah, actually, the voice of our listeners is very important to us. So
Yes.
whether these are questions, or even some tips that you'd like to share to us, we're more than happy to read them out aloud
Pero
and to
naman
share.
tayong social media, di ba?
May
So,
social
pwede po
media
kayo
tayo.
mag-comment sa Facebook. Nakita nga namin, hi Doc Ray, may nag-greet na sa atin. First episode pa lang, may nag-greet na sa atin.
So we keep them coming, no?
Yes,
Parang
yes.
greetings, questions, tips that you'd like to share, no?
Right.
To us and to everyone else. We're more than happy to read them and to address these, questions and tips from our listeners.
Yes. Tignan mo, Doc Gelo, babasahin ko lang. From Miss Isabel, I love the topics of the show and looking forward. Sige. Ta-try natin.
Yeah. We will try our best, no?
Sige.
Pero,
Ilinya
Doc,
muna natin.
Ilinya muna natin.
What
We
we have for
have a
September.
lot of exciting topics, in store for our listeners this September. So,
Sige.
this September 15. Actually, this September 15 is very important for mental health, no? We're celebrating,
Yes.
among other things, Suicide Prevention Month. Diba? So, for September 15, that's next Monday po, our topic is Mind Matters. Mental health and hope.
Importante na
So
may
not just
pag-asa
health,
talaga.
but hope.
Yes.
Diba? And we'll discuss about recognizing depression and anxiety and not waiting, to go to the doctor's office to recognize these things. No, we'd like to discuss how in classrooms or
Right.
even in our homes,
Ano pwede natin gawin?
ano yung pwedeng gawin? First is to recognize it, di ba? Number 2, very important, Doc Tippy, to remove the stigma around it.
Yes.
Di ba? Kasi that's one thing that prevents
Nafe-feel mo
people...
ba na parang medyo nababawasan na rin naman yung stigma on
Which is good, di ba?
mental
Parang
health?
more people are speaking up about their
Right.
experiences, and that's having a bit of a ripple effect when it comes to encouraging those to also speak about their experience.
Yeah.
And most importantly, to seek help.
Yes.
Diba? Kasi yun naman yun eh. Parang this is not something, in most cases, these are things that you can't handle by yourself. Diba? And, when you are able to go beyond the stigma, when you are able to go beyond the fear, that also inspires or moves you to ask help from other people.
Right. So, Doc Gelo, maganda yan, no? Kasi I'm sure meron din tayong mga parents, meron mga kaibigan na nakikinig sa atin, no? So, pwede nila talaga i-share. And excited ako kasi yung guest natin, hindi ko muna i-reveal. But she has been working with communities.
Yeah.
So, talagang meron siyang ganong kind of perspective. Kasi doon natin talaga mas maraming marireach na, kumbaga, na Pinoy. And lifespan din to, mula kabataan hanggang sa geriatric age
Nako,
group
parang
din
kilala
natin.
ko ata itong sinasabi mo, Doc Tippy. Parang a little birdie told me na parang she's also known to be the mother of public mental health, no?
Public mental-
So, hindi lang
Ang
parang...
batas natin, malaki ang
Oo.
contribution niya sa ating
sa mental health.
no?
And balita ko, no, parang she also brings her experience working with, people in like conflict areas, no, fragile settings, yung mga
Right.
naka-experience ng disaster or ng
Siya yung unang
bigmaan, di ba? So she's really been in the front lines.
Yes.
So-
Lalo na ngayon, di ba, Doc Gelo? Tapos i-connect mo pa yan sa environmental health, mga disasters natin
Yeah.
ngayon, yung mga areas na may conflict. Diba? Parang yung lusog ng kaisipan natin. Talagang
So
importante.
really, parang I think
Lusog
no
isip.
other better person can talk about mental health and hope.
Yes.
Lusog, isip at pag-asa
Correct.
than our guest this September 15. No? Let's
Right. Oy, sabi ni Doc Giselle, hi Doc Giselle! So natutuwa siya na meron talagang hope sa discussion natin ng mental health.
Importante yon. Hindi lang
Importante
health, no?
talaga.
Health and hope. Dr.
Yes.
P, so September 15, we have mental health. How
Yes.
about for September 22?
September 22, ito naman something very close to my heart kasi ang pag-uusapan natin, understanding child development and autism. So we'll talk about mga milestones. Pag-uusapan din natin yung mga red flags. Kailan ko ba kailangan i-refer tong anak ko pag hindi pa siya nagsasalita? Or bakit ganito yung habits niya? Normal pa ba to? Yung kalikutan niya, normal ba to para sa edad na to?
Dr.
Pag-uusapan
P,
natin yan.
you mentioned it, no? Parang I'm in my 30s and many of my batchmates already have their kids, no? And, now pag nakikita ko yung mga group chat namin sa Viber, parang ang daming tanong, parang, no, my kid, parang hindi pa siya nakakapagbasa or hindi siya nagsasalita or
Right.
my kid is super malikot, so makulit. Parang, is this normal? When should I
Pag-usapan natin
start
yan, no?
seeking help? Diba? Kasi parang may normal na kakulitan naman or
Of
may
course.
typical na kakulitan,
Yes,
diba? Parang,
yes.
and like sometimes it's either you're not worried about it or you're too worried about it. And I'm sure many of our listeners, especially young parents out there, no,
Right.
are on either end of the spectrum. They're either not, concerned about it at all or they could be
Sobra naman.
worrying about it too
Sobrang
much.
stressed na sila
Diba?
about
So
it.
let's try to balance it out.
Yes, and gusto ko rin siguro ma-reach dito sa episode na to, yung mga teachers natin. Kasi, it's inevitable. Meron tayong laws on inclusion and inclusivity in the classroom. So, kailangan ma-equip din natin sila about ano yung pwede nilang gawin na mga techniques and strategies para ma-manage din yung mga behaviors na to in the classroom.
And I know, Dr. P, this is a topic that's very important to you, but wearing my environmental health hat, I was also hoping to talk during this episode how, exposure to different chemicals like heavy metals in
Agree.
toys,
Yes.
school supplies.
Nako, Doc Gelo,
Might
dami
also
niyan.
impact the health, not just of our children but also their health moving forward. Believe it or not, Dr. P. But also going back to the work that we do at the Ateneo Center for Research and Innovation, we've tested a lot of toys,
Ano
a lot of
resulta
school
nun?
supplies, and you'll be surprised. No, a lot of
Yeah.
heavy metals like lead,
Yep.
cadmium,
And
arsenic.
Ang laki ng evidence natin dyan, di ba, Doc Gelo? LED na lang, pati IQ ng bata, pati level of attention, ma-affect talaga.
And speaking of attention, Dr. P, like a very common question that I get
Yes.
from like parents is that, okay, how about screen time? Di ba parang how much screen time is okay for my kids? Di ba parang is it
Right,
okay to have my 2 or 3-year-old watch episodes? Kasi baka mag-tantrum if they don't get to watch like Bluey or Dora the Explorer. So, like what is healthy amount of screen time? Or should we avoid it altogether?
Si Dr. Angel D, may study din siya on screen time. Lalo na yung nung panahon ng pandemic, di ba? Kasi nakakulong tayo. Alam mo ba, Doc Gelo, meron tayo tinatawag na virtual autism.
Virtual autism.
Virtual autism. Kasi too much screen time, nagmumukha tuloy na parang may autism yung bata. Pero pag tinanggal mo minsan yung screen, yung mga gadgets, biglang, uy, kakausapin ka nila, magre-relate na sila.
So, parang very situational, no?
And again, hopeful tayo kasi meron talaga tayong pwedeng gawin. Yun yung gusto nating ilagay sa show natin, di ba? Yung practical tips. Anong pwede kong gawin mamayang gabi, bukas ng umaga,
And
pagkatapos
answering
nito.
questions that really matter to our listeners.
Right,
Whether
right.
you are a professional or a parent or a student or a teacher. Like parang questions, like health questions that really matter to you. And then lastly, for September 29, we have Nourish to Flourish. We'll be talking about nutrition. And I love our guest for this, Dr. P.
Excited na ako.
Actually, siya po ang aking professor in nutrition when I was in medical school.
Naku, dinedate mo naman siya.
Hindi naman.
Matedate mo ang kanyang edad.
Hindi naman. Like you, Dr. P, in
Forever
fact,
young.
our Forever Young, and you'll really see how parang, nourishing yourself with the right kind of food, with the right kind of nutrients,
Yes.
will also help in keeping you youthful.
Right. Kasi
Diba?
food is medicine, di ba? Nabanggit mo nga kanina.
Food is medicine, definitely. And I think in this episode, for September 29, we'll also get to discuss, things that are quite debatable. A lot of, people are quite divided, especially when we talk about diet. Like there are
Yes.
so much
Daming
diets
choices,
and
eh.
options. Parang do I do,
Mediterranean.
or paleo diet.
Intermittent fasting.
Intermittent
Kasama pa yun,
fasting, di ba?
OMAD, di ba? 1 meal a
Oo.
day.
And then, isa pa, Dr. P, now there are some like medications, some pharmaceutical products,
Correct.
either oral or injectable, that promise, say for example, weight loss in 3 months.
Or hindi ka nakakain.
Diba?
Mawawalan
So,
ka ng gana kumain pala.
Like, hopefully, parang we get to discuss these things. Because, these are options that our listeners know.
Right.
Diba?
And ang gusto natin, Doc Gelo, syempre we still bring in the science kasi nga ang daming information, di ba? Ano may paniniwalaan natin? So yun yung itatakal ng expert natin.
Yeah, but also understanding parang how our listeners might perceive the science as well.
Yes.
Diba? And what are their motivations, their perceptions when it comes to engaging with the science and when they look at these options.
Right.
Kasi iba rin pag sa atin bilang doktor, it might make sense to us, but iba rin yung pagtingin ng ating mga tagapakinig, who might not necessarily be health professionals. So,
Right.
it's less about us. It's more about understanding where our listeners are coming
Or
from.
at saka syempre, we want to empower our listeners, di ba? Giving them options, giving them choices so that they can make good choices on their own. Yun ang goal din natin.
And we'll do that through conversations. So, this Cura won't be, Dr. P, like us just downloading everything to our listeners.
Right.
It's us providing some information and allowing that to trigger health conversations. Conversations about
I like
care,
that term.
health, and healing.
Yes, so ang target natin talaga, conversation, hindi po to lecture.
Not a lecture.
Hindi tayo
Ayan.
magle-lecture, no?
Also,
So,
not a medical consult.
Hindi.
rin
Ay,
po tayo
bawal yun.
medical consult.
Hindi po, you have to still go to your doctors, your medical professionals, no? Pero, ang gusto natin dito, each episode, magkakaroon tayo ng storytelling segment. Kakwento nila ano yung pinagdaanan nila, ano yung mga sintomas nila. Tapos gusto natin real people who will share their experiences. Tapos, mag-invite din tayo, syempre, ng mga experts in the field. So, marami tayong colleagues mula sa Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health at saka sa University Physician's Office natin. So, pwede tayo mag-invite dan. Tapos, bibigyan natin talaga ng time.
And
for
even sa basic ed,
questions.
Dr. P.
Pati
diba?
sa basic
Pati
ed.
sa basic
Yes.
ed, diba? Sa grade school, sa high school.
Actually, gusto ko nga mag-invite ng mga grade schoolers dito eh. Parang tinatawagan po ang ating basic ed, ang ating VP for basic ed.
But you know what, Dr. P, that's also very important. We'd like to think that our children are dependent on their parents for their health, but we can actually empower our kids
Right.
to become health champions for themselves.
You have to start them young.
We have to start
Kasi
them
mas
young.
mahirap na mag-unlearn ka pa ng mga habits versus
Definitely.
bago pa lang tuturuan mo na sila and parang sponge talaga ang mga bata. So we want to take advantage of that time.
And you know, all of these things that we're mentioning, Dr. P, it's really an invitation po to our listeners no, to participate. Cura is not just the Dr. P and Doc Gelo show. Cura is everyone's health show.
Kasi kung hindi, nag-song and dance na lang tayo.
Tama, di ba? Parang nagkwentuhan na lang tayo. We want this to be your show as well.
Right.
We want this to be an opportunity for you to share your stories, to share your tips, to be a health inspiration, not just to yourself, but also to other listeners.
So Doc Gelo, paano sila mag-share dito? How will they participate dito sa show na to?
Good question, Dr. P. Radyo Katipunan's social media platforms are available for our listeners to
Yes.
send in their questions to either by commenting or messaging no, through our Facebook or through our YouTube page.
So maraming ways of sharing. And then syempre babasahin natin yan online, no? So if you have a story to share, so halimbawa your diagnosis journey for your child nung na-diagnose siya na meron palang ADHD yung bata, or halimbawa meron kang strategies na nakita paano mo pinababa yung cholesterol mo or na-discover mo, ito pala yung pwede kong gawin para sa healthy weight loss. Gusto namin mabalitaan yon. So we would want to hear from you.
Because that is what Cura is about.
Yes.
Cura is about caring for each other, learning from each other,
And altogether, making our university, our community, a healthy university, a healthy community that really cares for each other.
a university that cares.
Yes.
So it's about that nurturing that sense of community, di ba? Cura is about a community of healers, di ba?
Ganda naman. Oo
So,
nga.
Dr. P,
Yes.
no, I think I haven't even noticed that, it's
Mabilis pa lang.
ang bilis lang pala, parang lumipas lang
Lagay
isang
din tayong
oras.
dalawa pa
di ba?
lang nandito.
Paano pa kaya kung sasamahan pa tayo ng ating mga exciting guests, no? And experts in our upcoming episodes, Dr. P. So, but as we wrap up our first episode, I just want to thank you, Dr. P, and to thank our listeners for allowing us, no, to start this, program,
journey, no?
this journey with you.
Siyempre, pati sa Radyo Katipunan, thank you for giving us the opportunity to be here. 'Di ba? So, tandaan natin, Doc Gelo, Cura is not just a radio show.
Definitely, it's our invitation to our bigger community to reimagine what it means to be well and healthy as individuals, as families, as a community, and as caretakers of our planet.
Ang ganda niyan. So, biopsychosocial. Pati planet, kailangan nating alagaan. Doc
Hindi lang
Gelo.
pang pamilya, pangkakalikasan pa, di ba?
Sige. So, next Monday po, September 15, magdi-deep dive tayo sa Mind Matters, Mental Health and Hope with our expert guest at saka syempre po yung mga person stories na i-share nyo. So, padala nyo na po yung mga
So
question
please
nyo.
be prepared to bring in your questions and be ready to participate.
Sa September 15
Sa September 15?
Alas 7 po ng gabi ulit.
Until then, to our listeners, Dr. P, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Once again, I'm Dr. Gelo Apostol, your planetary health doctor.
At ako po si Dr. Tippy Sumpaico-Tanchanco.
And from all of us at Cura, stay well.
Radyo, 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 Katipunan, radyo, Katipunan,
OFW Eagle kami, di mapipigil sa pagbabalitang tungkol